see where you're talking about Grandma with the uniforms there. Nice stories.
Hey, Grandma.
Great picture. Grandma.
Says they all are. How's your shoe on?
Day ceremony. We welcome Mr. Philippe Valliot, Consul Général de France, Mr. Yves Tézé, Head of the School, distinguished guests, students and staff. Bienvenue à tous au lycée français de New York pour cette cérémonie. First, let me introduce the Head of the School, Mr. Yves Tézé.
Monsieur le Consul Général, Monsieur le député maire de Caen, dear American veterans, dear colleagues, dear students, dear parents, ladies and gentlemen. I would like on behalf of our entire school to welcome you all today in this beautiful French school in the heart of New York. I would like to use these few minutes to share my feelings with you. I must say, these emotions are felt on several levels. The first of them is my appreciation to you, Philippe. We immediately signed on to the project when I proposed to organize a ceremony here at our school. It's the same appreciation I have and gratitude to our Department of History, Geography, Laurent Pointu, and his team who contributed to the preparation of this ceremony, and obviously to you, the students, who are going to speak in a short while. I also feel great pride, personal pride, because it's not every day that French School Abroad welcomes veterans who fought on our soil to ensure that democracy would triumph over despotism. It is this same pride that I feel as I address you, our students, when I see myself a few years ago, a little younger than you, when I was listening to one of our grandfathers, the both fought during the First World War. And this one spent 7 years of his youth in the army and a large part of the First World War in Greece. So I was highly emotional when I arrived in Australia in 1991 to get my position as a head of the French Australian school. And I saw right in front of me, in the War Museum, this big model of the Gallipoli battle, where the French and the Australians found once again to combat dictatorship. From the bottom of my heart, I feel a deep sense of appreciation to you, dear veterans. because all of my life I've had the good fortune of enjoying the wonderful feeling of one word, freedom. Born at the beginning of the 50s, I was able to live all my youth in a country liberated from the yoke of Nazism. And I could do that because you consecrated, dedicated a part of your youth while putting your life in danger to liberate Western Europe and my country from the prison of Nazi. And I say that deeply emotionally because, as I was saying to Mr. Lalliot, my older sister got married a few years later with a German husband. 66 years later, we owe it to you to keep the memory alive. Just this morning, during a ceremony in Paris, our French president, Mr. Sarkozy, remembered an event which occurred on November the 11th, 1940, and I addressed myself to the students. On that day, 2,500 high school students challenged the Nazi occupation by honoring the victims of the First World War. This brave act resulted in the arrest of half of these young people. Just imagine 1 million dreams, that kind of action this morning. We owe this remembrance and this reconnection to you, the young generations of the 1940s, so that we never forget. Having been in the world of education for 40 years, I know that education is the essential key, the key for preventing future wars in civilized countries. In the name of the community of our beautiful LFNY, thank you all for being here today to celebrate our Franco-American friendship, a union that will serve and carry on serving the noble cause of freedom so that intolerance and dictatorship will be replaced everywhere in the world with democracy. Thank you so much.
My words will fade, but you, gentlemen, will remain in the memory of these young people, and your history will become theirs. It will be one day that it will become their responsibility to nurture with the same selflessness and the same dignity the friendship between our two countries and our two people. It will be as well their responsibility to continue your fight whenever and wherever the values and ideas we believe in are threatened. As Consul General of France, I want to offer you the French nation's solemn tribute. As the grandson of a resistant, I want to express my gratitude for your contributions to the liberation of my country. As a young man who did not experience that war, and as a father whose sons attend this school, I want to say quite simply that we are grateful, that we will never forget what we did, and that we will try to be worthy of your example. Thank you.
Monsieur le Consul Général de France, Monsieur le député maire, Madame et Monsieur les conseillers à l'Assemblée des Français de l'étranger, chers collègues, fellow legionnaires, ladies and gentlemen, I'm the President of the American Society of the French Legion of Honor, which was founded in 1922 to unite all the legionnaires living in the United States and strengthen the ties between two countries who indeed share the same values. French by descent and American by birth, I've dedicated most of my life to strengthening the ties between America and France. From the plains of Yorktown to the Argonne forests, from the beaches of Normandy to the mountains of Afghanistan, our two nations have always been allies and have fought side by side every time that freedom, independence, and democracy were at stake. As you all know, today marks the 92nd anniversary of the end of World War I. As President Sarkozy reminded representatives of all concerned countries 2 years ago, the casualties were enormous. The President was speaking at Duomo, the ossuary memorial containing the remains of soldiers who died at the Battle of Jeddah. The numbers he evoked sent chills among all the assistants. 8.5 million dead, 21 million wounded, 4 million widows, 8 million orphans. Such is the bottom line of what has been called the Great War, the war to end all wars. And yet, as we are reminded every 8th of May, there was another war, with even more casualties on all sides. And again, France's closest allies came to its rescue. During his first state visit to the United States 3 years ago, the President of France, M. Nicolas Sarkozy, decorated a number of veterans in Washington, D.C. The ceremony was very much like the one you are about to witness. Let me read to you, if I may, a few lines from the President's very moving remark. In my country, there are thousands upon thousands of white headstones to remember those men who didn't know France and yet who came to die on French soil. And I want to tell you that whenever an American soldier dies anywhere in the world, I think of what the American Army and Americans have done for us. Twice a year, we assemble at the invitation of the Consul General of France to commemorate and to remember. On November 11th and on May 8th, we celebrate the end of 2 wars, but most importantly, on both these occasions, we celebrate something very precious. We celebrate French-American friendship. Monsieur le Consul Général, dear Philippe Lalliot, thank you for carrying on the tradition and bringing us together today as we remember and as we honor. We remember those who made the ultimate sacrifice and lie in cemeteries on French shores in Normandy, the south of France, and indeed everywhere liberty was at stake. Those who may not even have found a grave.